this story before. So, this is literally, these carvings would have been what we call a Bible in stone. Because everybody was illiterate. The Mass was said in Latin, so they didn't understand it. This is how they taught stories, biblical stories. And don't forget, when this was done, it would have all been painted and gilded. So very different to what you see today. Now, this is very simple, this one. Bottom left, you've got the angel and Mary. On the right, you've got the birth scene, Christ. You see the little baby. And at the top, you've got the adoration of the Magi, the three wise men. Now, that's all very straightforward. But there's a figure here that you might not know. If you look at Mary, bottom right, where she's lying down, just above her is a little figure with his chin on his hand. Mm-hmm. Now, he was carved frowning. He's worried. In medieval carvings, the chin on your hand is worry. Do you know who that is?
Doubting Thomas.
Sorry?
Doubting Thomas.
No, it's not Thomas. Any idea? It's Joseph. No. He was seen as a joke in medieval times because he doesn't know where the babies come from. It's not his. He's worried where they come from. It's amazing. You think they had a sense of humour back then.
This part is taller than that part, isn't it?
Sorry?
This is taller than that side.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Was it, you said it was a few fellows?
Sorry?
Was it few fellows in here?
No, in there. In there they had a couple of other floors. They were in wood. Just a accommodation. Yeah. So, when you first look at it, it doesn't look very French. And if I use the word Moorish, would you know what I mean? From Spain?
All right.
Because of the connection between here and Santiago. They used two different types of limestone to get the stripes. They've got some problems here. You've seen the reinforcing that was put up this year. But look down the row of columns, look at the bending in the wall. If you look at the third arch, there's an electronic sensor up there. You see how flat it's become. It's very slowly sinking. It'll be all right today, don't worry. Vézelay is orientated to the sun. And on the summer solstice, if you can see this, we get little spots of light all the way down the centre of the nave. It lines up exactly. That's the light from the clerestory windows at the top. And it shines perfectly down. Yeah. And on the winter solstice, when the sun is much, much lower, it lights up the capitals, which are the carvings at the top of these pillars. And it lines up absolutely exactly. It's that side, actually, sorry. So is it east-west? Oh, yes, yes, yeah. So Vézelay is not only famous for the tympanum I showed you, but also these capitals, the carvings. There's 99 of them in the church, all different stories. I'm not going to show you 99, but I'll show you the really famous ones. You see how different this is to Auxerre Cathedral, because this is Romanesque. They hadn't invented Gothic, and they were so scared of opening up big windows. So you've just got these tiny little windows, because they thought anything bigger would weaken the structure. What they hadn't worked out was the size of the columns. These columns are twice the size they need to be to hold this up, but they hadn't got the technology you've got here. So this is probably the most famous carving in the church, this one here. This is what they call the Mystic Mill. Now, in the Museum of Cluny in Paris, we've got the document, the commission for this, so we know the symbology behind it, the story, and what it means. When you first look at it, you've got a man on the left is pouring corn into a mill, and the man on the right is then taking away the flour. That's very straightforward. But the symbology behind it is the man on the left is Moses, and Moses is pouring the Old Testament, the Old Law, into the mill. And if you look at the shape of the mill, it's a cross. And then on the right-hand side is St. Paul, and Paul is taking away the gospel. And we know it's St. Paul because he was always shown half bald, receding hairline. Don't know why. No idea. But if you look at the carving, look at the clothes, we think it was the same man that carved this, that carved the tympanum, because it's the same swirling pattern as Christ's clothes on the tympanum. It's quite deep, isn't it? This one here is a different kind of thing. This one makes you work, like a little pilgrimage you have to do. This is the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, where the rich man was so mean he wouldn't even give the poor man who was starving to death, Lazarus, he wouldn't even give him crumbs from his table. So you've got the death of the two men. First of all, this is the rich man on his deathbed, and underneath you can see the money sacks, see the snake, and then if you look carefully, you've got a couple of demons are pulling his soul out as he's expiring. It's quite scary. This is what we call a cartoon in the old sense of the word. It's a story in many parts. So the death of the poor man, Lazarus, is here. That makes you move. And you can see his soul is being lifted up to heaven. Sorry. If you ever see a medieval carving and somebody's in this almond shape, it's called a mandorla, and it means they're under the protection of heaven. So he's being lifted up by angels. And the happy ending.
It's magnificent.
And so he's got his reward. He's sitting on the lap of Abraham in heaven. It's quite clever, isn't it? You've got a story in one block of stone. It's quite an imagination to do that. And you think, well, 900 years ago? Something like that. Somebody was carving that. It's quite incredible. Maybe
That's called art.
And the leaves,
That's
are
called
they
art.
shells really? They look sort of shell-shaped palms on the side.
They're, what are the palm leaves? Yes. Yeah. This one here, I think, is a sense of humour. When the young King David was looking, well, before he was king, he was looking after his father's sheep. A lion came along, and he had to kill the lion. And this is him killing the lion. It's not the way I'd do it. Maybe lions were different back then. I'll show you my favourite one.
Amazingly
The other side of the
modern
nave.
faces.
Sorry.
Amazingly modern faces.
Yes.
Each stone has got one story. Looks like that one movie. Really.
Date I can never remember. So, the pulpit has been changed. The original one was burnt during the French Revolution, along with the period figures using the Bible. But imagine, it was the 12th of June, 1166. The whole population of Bezalel was ordered to come to Mass on Sunday.
Sorry.
And there was a very famous preacher here, it was Thomas à Becket. And Thomas à Becket gave the sermon where he excommunicated Henry II here. He was in exile at the time. And of course, he went back to England and then got assassinated. Who will rid me of this troublesome monk? Yeah, it's amazing to think he was here.